Silent Hill 2 Noob's Guide video walkthrough thing. Let's go! We start by looking in the mirror as James Sunderland. Self-reflection and all that. As he reads a letter from his dead wife. Despite being dead for 3 years, she tells James that she is in Silent Hill. James is muddled, bewildered, disorientated, and other confused synonyms. We head towards Toluca Lake and run through a foggy forest. Well. James sees a red square in a well which we use as a save point. So take that. Walking further into the forest, we startle a girl in a cemetery. We tell her that we're lost. Lost? She says, yes bitch, we're lost. She tells us Silent Hill isn't hard to find and is only one road away. She does give us a warning about the town, although James literally says he doesn't care.
Guess I really don't care if it's dangerous or not.
We go on a cute walk and find a first aid kit, and then we climb through some wooden panelling and find this creature thing. I'm going to call him Brian. Although we're startled by Brian, we decide to pick up a bit of the wooden panelling and smack the shit out of him. Sorry, Brian. We learn that this monster is not human.
It's not human.
Thank you, James. Before we kick the shit out of Brian, we picked up this little radio player thing, which is now playing some distorted woman. We pick up some supplies, reach the town and head into the apartment complex. We pick up a map, find a room with some mannequin parts inside. Strangely, one of those mannequins is wearing clothes that James recognises. We then fight various Brians. We head upstairs, see a key behind some bars, which we do try and reach for before some little f***ing shithead decides to be a cunt and f***s off.
Hey, wait! Damn it.
We find a gun, hopefully we don't see that child again, before heading back downstairs, hearing some kind of noise, and walking down a tight corridor. What is that? Don't worry guys, it's just my profile picture. We find ourselves, dead, in a room watching TV, covered in blood. What is happening here then? We find a key for another room, try to push a clock to no avail, before moving on to the room we now have a key for. Inside we find butterflies in the bedroom and a hole on the wall. James sticks his dick hand in the hole before feeling something big and furry on the other side. I don't know if it's actually big and furry, that's just what my script says. Don't worry, let's move on away from the hole. Nope! James reaches in again and finds a clock key. We hear various banging noises from the neighbours upstairs. Hi Brian.
Get your fucking ass in.
We can now open the clock from earlier, adjust the time and move the clock, which reveals a gap in the wall leading to another room. This leads back upstairs. Hey, remember I said earlier about the banging from the neighbours upstairs? Oh lovely, Pyramid Head is assaulting a corpse whilst we hide in a closet.
Nice.
Pyramid Head drags the corpse in front of us before flailing his arms around and approaching the closet. James doesn't hesitate.
Anyway, I started blasting. Bang,
and fires through the closet at Triangle Tits before it leaves and we're free to go and grab a courtyard key. We also find a fire escape key down the corridor. Hi Brian. Canned juice. We use the courtyard key, but before we go out through the door we head upstairs and throw the canned juice into a rubbish chute, caring for the environment and that. We head back outside, go to the end of the chute and find a coin, along with a magazine about Walter Sullivan, who murdered 2 people and committed suicide by jamming a spoon in his neck. Gold star for creativity. It says in the magazine that an old school friend said Walter didn't look like the type of guy who would kill kids, before saying he does remember him blurting out a bunch of strange stuff. Man, I sure am glad we won't see more about this Walter guy in future. We head through the courtyard, nosedive into the pool and pick up a coin from the stroller. We head back through the apartments again where we find Eddie, who is throwing up whilst telling us that he didn't do it, that he didn't kill nobody when James asks about the dead guy in the kitchen.
He was like this when I got here.
Eddie doesn't know about Pyramid Head, but he agrees that something brought him to this town quite like it did for James.
Yeah, you could say that.
Eddie tells us to be careful before we jump through the fire escape door across to another building. So much for being careful, eh? We jump across to a nearby apartment and head into the bathroom. James reaches into the toilet after seeing something stuck inside it. How casual. James finds a wallet with a memo inside of a bunch of letters and numbers which are used to unlock a nearby safe and get a shit ton of handgun bullets.
Nice.
Hi Brian. We head to a nearby room and find the girl from the cemetery led in front of a massive mirror. Look who's lost now, bitch! She tells us that her name is Angela as she stares up a knife. We tell her that we're here to find our dead wife before she freaks out with the knife and puts it down, and then runs away.
Bye, Felicia.
We take the knife and a coin for ourselves. We place 3 coins into a drawer which gives us a key that lets us into a nearby room, where we find a stairway key. On the way to the stairway we find a mannequin leg thing doing a handstand. How impressive. Oh no, it's Triangle Tits. We're now stuck in a stairwell with Pyramid Head, where we blast him as he flails his sword around as if he has a chance of hitting us. And I'll tell you what, he might look intimidating, but he sure as shit can't hit us with a sword.
I ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really.
Pyramid Head eventually has enough of us lodging bullets into his chest, and so he heads down the flooded stairs, which then clears up ready for us to go down. We are essentially now hunting Pyramid Head. James is the real monster of Silent Hill 2. Oh, look who we have here! We find the little girl from earlier who has a letter. She says James didn't love Mary anyway before running off.
You didn't love Mary anyway.
Wait! How do you know Mary's name?
What a knob. We come across a cute little park that we recognise before questioning if Mary could be here. We walk through the park before, hello madam. We find someone that supposedly looks like James's late wife, except for the fact that she's dressed differently. And she's not dead, and her name is Maria.
It's Maria.
James explains to Maria why he's in town, before Maria questions if this is really the special place Mary was on about in her letter. James has flashbacks of a Lakeview Hotel, which Maria points to. She says she's afraid of the monsters and questions James's loyalty if he were to leave her alone, considering she looks like his late wife. James gives in and says she can now tag along with him. We then head through the fog to a nearby garage and then into Pete's Bowlerama bowling alley, where we find Eddie and the little girl. Eddie is scranning an absolute banger of a pizza whilst the little girl runs off again.
Bye-bye.
Eddie reveals that the little girl's name is Laura before James snaps.
This town is full of monsters. How can you sit there and eat pizza?
We head up a nearby alleyway, discover Laura has gone up a tight as fuck gap. Maria uses some picklocking skills to break into a nearby building, which happens to be a strip club. This building leads to some steps which we head down, where we find Laura run into a nearby hospital. We pick up a map, fight some nurses and find a toy, where we pull out a bent needle and a shotgun. That escalated. We head upstairs and into a room where Maria pops some pills and tells us that she's tired. Here we also find a roof key. We head to the roof, find a diary which tells us of someone's experience with their sickness and medication, before heading to the nearby stairwell which spawns in Pyramid Head.
Howdy, bitch.
Pyramid Head knocks us on our ass to the floor below.
You naughty.
We find a box which we can access using a code from the floor below and a key that we picked up earlier. Inside we find some hair. We go into a nearby shower where we find something stuck in a drain. We use the hair and the bent needle from earlier to pick out an elevator key. We use the elevator to head downstairs again, where we find Laura hiding between some beds. Laura tells us that her and Mary were friends last year. This triggers James, seeing as Mary died 3 years ago. What could be happening here?
Fine, don't believe me.
Before we leave with Laura, she tells us that she has to go back and pick up a letter from Mary, which James obviously wants her to go and get.
Is that okay?
Yes, yes.
Laura tells us to go and get it, which happens to be at the back of this dark room. She then locks us in the room, where some monsters begin to hang from the roof. She also calls us Fart Face. We shoot these hanging monsters before being carried out to this small courtyard place. Okay, now things are picking up. We use the shotgun on some nurses.
Get your fucking ass in.
Find ourselves a battery and a basement storeroom key before reading a note about a ring that was left in the basement. We now head to the basement. Once we're in the basement, we move a shelving unit which reveals a ladder. Shut the fuck up, Maria is here. James calls her the wrong name, which upsets Maria a little bit.
Anyway! What do you mean, anyway? You don't sound very happy to see me. I was almost killed back there.
We go down the ladder and pick up a copper ring, and then come back upstairs. We reach the elevator and hear a strange announcement.
Correctly and receive the punishment. Got it all figured out? When you know the answers, head to the storeroom on the 3rd floor to collect your prizes. But be careful if you're wrong. Well then, everybody, thanks for tuning in. See you again sometime. Bye-bye.
What was that?
We find a fridge, which Maria helps us open, and we find a lead ring.
Take it.
Thanks.
There's a chest upstairs where we pick up a shit ton of shotgun shells.
Nice.
We go through a painting door thing and end up in a tight corridor with Pyramid Head chasing us and Maria. We make it to the elevator before... Fuck! Maria! Maria!
Oh my fucking god, she fucking dead.
James heads outside before establishing a new plan. Find Mary. You know, the original plan that he had. We explore the town. At night. We pick up some items. At night. We read signs.
At night.
We head into the Silent Hill Historical Society building, where we find various paintings, including one of a deep, deep hole. Let's head down this massive marathon-length staircase which leads to a room. This room has a record book of prison numbers. Fuck you, Brian.
Get your fucking ass.
Oh look, it's the massive gaping hole we saw in this painting. James decides to dive right in and land in some kind of well. We smash a wall, which reveals a door. Brian, fuck off! We head through some more doors and discover a grate that we open and once again dive right into. We land in front of Eddie's bollocks, who tells us that killing person is no big deal.
Killing a person ain't no big deal.
Eddie has officially gone mad. Eddie fucks off and we're left to explore this filthy labyrinth. We head to a big open area where we find a gallows, which had some gaps where we place some... What the fuck was that? We explore the labyrinth again where we find Brian, and a note about an old boat which sank. After we find various items including a wax doll, lighter and a horseshoe, you know, the usual shopping list, we jump down another hole. We land in a pretty basic tile room which leads to some sort of morgue with a body that James thinks might have moved. Oh look, another hole. Alley-oop. And again, yeehaw. Did you think that we were deep enough into the Earth's crust? I assure you we are not. Let's take an elevator even further down. Brian, down boy! We climb a ladder to find some chain-linked corridor place. Fuck! James picks up a great knife from a dark red room before... There's a strange cube puzzle thing which we turn, which then reveals a door for us to go through. Beyond the door we find... Maria?
Howdy, bitch.
James is in shock at how Maria is still alive. Aren't we all? Before she asks if something happened to us and if we're just a bit confused. She tells us to remember the hotel and a videotape that might still be at the hotel. James, you naughty dog. Maria touches our face before tempting James to come to her side of the bars.
Can't do anything through these bars.
We head through the windy corridors and pop off on some Brians before hearing some commotion from a room. Angela is trapped in the corner of a very odd room with some chicken nugget monster thing now approaching us. Oh no you don't! Angela seems a bit overwhelmed and associates the monster with some past trauma of her dad. To which we take some of her pain, which is fair enough I suppose. But then she calls us a liar when we say that we're still looking for our wife.
Liar!
Sorry, what? How's it hanging? Not the time. This puzzle with the hanging bodies gives us a key that unlocks a valve which rises some bars. Beyond this bars we are led back to Maria.
Maria?
Oh, for God's sake, can this woman please stop dying? We head to a nearby graveyard where we find Eddie's name, Angela's name, and James's name. What? This grave guides us down a tight corridor and into some smoky green room where we find Eddie, a corpse, and a gun. I'll let you decide what happened here. Eddie goes on a rant about how people have bullied him before James asks him, have you gone nuts? Bad move, James.
I knew it. You too.
Eddie now snaps at us and we get into a brawl. Eddie runs and we find him in a room with hanging meat. Oh, you're about to become some hanging meat now, Eddie, my boy. Eddie's dead and James is now in shock.
I killed a human being.
I feel like we need something relaxing to take the edge off. So how are you all doing? You alright? Yeah, you all good? You could use this time to click subscribe on my channel or something. We've taken a boat to the other side of the lake where we arrive at the Lakeview Hotel. We find a note saying the words waiting for you, and it tells us to go to room 312. We find another note addressed to us that says the videotape we forgot is being kept in the office on the first floor. We pick up the key for room 312 and head into the dining area. Found you, bitch! We find Laura hiding, who tells us that she too wants to know where Mary is. Laura then hands us a letter from Mary that wishes Laura a happy 8th birthday. Laura then tells us that she turned 8 just last week.
I turned 8 last week.
What? Laura tells us there's another letter from Mary which she must have dropped, so she runs off to go and find it.
Why are you running? Why are you running?
We head upstairs, kill various monsters, and find the videotape in an open safe in the office.
Gotcha, bitch!
We head to the bar real quick. We load up the music box and then head to room 312. We load up the videotape, where we see James's perspective of speaking to Mary as she expresses her love for the town. Mary asks James to bring her back here again before coughing. We then see an over-the-shoulder view of James smothering his wife with a pillow, obviously showing that he killed her to take the pain of her illness away. You know, I would love to say that I have a meme or a sound effect to go here, but this part is just so depressing that I can't think of the right thing to add, so... Oh, here we go! Laura comes in and tells us to get going since we can't find Mary. We then admit to Laura what we did to Mary, which obviously upsets her. She then calls us a killer. True. Laura leaves and we head out shortly after. We put on some headphones to listen to some tunes and tap into a memory of James speaking to Mary's doctor, where we learn the full extent of her illness.
Effective treatment for her condition.
How long does she have?
I'm afraid I'm not sure.
We head downstairs, which is now flooded, until we come across Angela on a set of stairs which are completely on fire. Angela mistakes us for her mother before she touches our face and then backs away. We explain that we won't let her take back her knife before she heads upstairs into the fire. We say that it's hot. No shit, James. And Angela says that her world is always like this. We let her go and walk away back through the building and over a chain-linked corridor thing. We approach a big door which takes us to a big open room. James runs forward and looks up to see Maria crying for help, as she is held up by 2 pyramid heads, which eventually kill her. James admits he needed to be punished for his sins before rising up against the 2 triangle-tit sword-wielding blokes. After a very long fight, the 2 pyramid dickheads cross swords and freeze in the centre of the room. James finds an egg in each of their hands, which are used to unlock the 2 doors in front of him. We head through one of the doors and replay some memories in our head as we walk down an endless corridor and hear Mary's self-hatred of her sickness and medication, which calls her to push James away.
I don't deserve flowers. Between the disease and the drugs, I look like a monster.
Mary expresses her depression by telling James that things would just be easier if she was dead. We climb the outside stairwell which takes us to the roof, where we find Mary.
Mary?
Mary is looking out the window, and as we approach her she explains that she isn't actually Mary. James has had enough of this torment and essentially says that he doesn't need this shit anymore.
But I don't need you anymore.
Which is where imposter of Mary begins to beg for his approval. James says that he wants to end this nightmare, but the imposter version of Mary transforms into the original form of an evil Mary which looks rather evil.
Anyway, I started blasting. Bang, bang.
We take down this monster which leads to a final memory of James next to Mary on her deathbed. But this is no memory, this is James asking Mary for forgiveness, for taking away her pain by smothering her with a pillow. And Mary forgives him and says that what he's done is enough.
I wanted the pain to end.
Mary dies again, but this time more peacefully and with James as her protector. We hear a voiceover from James who says that he now knows why he came to this town. This is where we hear a car rev up, and James say that he has nothing else to live for but Mary.
Without you, Mary, I've got nothing.
We then hear an almighty emotional, very very sad narration from Mary, which asks James for forgiveness for her illness and encourages him to do what's best for him.
Do what's best for you, James.
And then Brian shows up.
Howdy, bitch.
Hi, Brian. Yeah, I'm joking. That's it. That's Silent Hill 2. I hope you've enjoyed this Noob's Guide, and if you have, please like this video and share your thoughts in the comments. Remember to click subscribe so you don't miss out on more of my Silent Hill videos. That's all from me. I'll see you in the next video.